I love it. Is it the heat? I don't know. I thought you guys would be like, it's too hard. Don't love it. So I'm French. I say that like, sorry, I'm French. No, I'm not sorry. I'm really happy to be French, actually.
Candace?
That was weird.
It's just the power going out. I think. Just
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
There they are.
Okay.
Keep going, Doc.
I just keep going. Excellent. So, do you guys know how to say hello in French? Very good.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. We actually, Phil is the guest speaker on the French language,
Yeah.
so you're gonna.
Bonjour.
Very good.
Bonjour.
That's the north. That's people from the north.
Oh, from the north. Hey, we talked there.
And there's also another way, which is salut. That's very good. Salut. And you can say salut to say hello, and you can say salut to say goodbye. So that's, sometimes it's salut, 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 salut. And you can, to say how are you, you can say ça va, which is also the answer of ça va. So it's salut, ça va, yeah, salut, ça va. You can have a whole conversation in French with 3 words. French is not complicated. Especially that we also do a lot of sand. There was this Canadian comic, I can't remember his name, but he had a sketch, like a little show that was making fun of French. Because Canadian and French, we actually do make fun of each other. A part of Canada speaks French and the others don't, but the one who do speak French have the most hilarious accent I've ever heard. I can't even do it, it's just too funny. And
Lizzie, speak French.
sorry? Who is Canadian? You're French Canadian?
No.
Oh, well, then you're fine. You can stand, it's okay. And so you were saying that to speak French, you don't actually need to know any words, because we speak a lot in sound. So we go, I'm sure you get absolutely what I'm saying. We're very feeling people. So we very. It depends also if you go in the north or in the south. But we part of the Latin people, so like the Italian and the Spanish, and so we're really expressive. We're really gonna wear it on our faces and the way we're going to talk, and that's one of the difference that I had some difficulty adjusting when I moved to Australia, because people were thinking I was funny when I was being angry, because they weren't really used of from a more Anglo-Saxon type of background, where people are a bit more they're more, I don't know, maybe professional is the word, I'm not sure, but they keep their emotions, they keep in check, and they have a conversation. Whereas in France, I mean, it's not unusual to have your boss screaming at you. Here you probably get in a lot of trouble with work, not safety, but the way work guidelines are done. Whereas in France, it's part of almost how you talk to each other. When you're not happy, you just have an argument, that's it. And then you move on. So I was all fired up coming in here, and people were like, she's so funny. I'm not funny, I'm angry. So I had to learn, and it's really strange, because coming from France to Australia, I didn't actually expect to have culture shock. So it took me 3 years to realize that I was going through a culture shock. If I had been to somewhere that's very different, like, and I'm thinking an Asian country or Africa, I would expect the culture and everything to be really different. But coming from, France to Australia, I thought, yeah, pretty the same, we all have McDonald's, we all drive cars, pretty much the same, and it's not. And that was difficult, the way, especially in the way people interact. So in France, we very much going to each other's place, and we've got something that's awesome. It's called aperitif. Do you guys know what aperitif is? I probably shouldn't talk about that, because most of you might be underage, but it's a great excuse to drink alcohol starting from 11 in the morning.
We should have that here. But the difference is that, and that's a difference that I have found also, between France and Australia, is that we don't really get drunk in France.
And the way my partner puts it, he said, well, you guys say that we drink a lot, but you get away with it by calling it aperitif. What aperitif is it's before lunch and before dinner, and you have a drink of alcohol, and it can be wine, it can be port, it can be whiskey, if that's what you're into, and you have some pretzels or some peanuts, and you have some little things that you eat before, and then after you go and you start, and your typical meal is three courses. So you have an entree, and then you have a main, and then you have a dessert, and then in some families you also have cheese and salad. So you eat the cheese and the salad together. Sorry?
Fromage.
Fromage. Who said fromage?
That's the only thing I learned in French. And I remember that. It's the only thing I remember.
And how to kiss.
Did you hear that?
Not me, that was it.
What did you say?
I said fromage.
He said that wasn't the only thing you remembered.
Oh.
That too.
You don't do that.
Okay, is that wrong? Let us have an argument.
You're getting more French every time. Actually, talking about the with my girlfriend, who's French also, we were having these conversations once, and we were saying, I don't get it. I don't get why people say we do that. We don't say that. We never say that. And no, I don't say. Do you say that? No, I don't say that. I don't know where that's coming from. And then we started talking, and then she went, ah, or something like that. I went, that's what they mean. And so we actually do it, but we don't. Okay? We do make sounds that are typical French, and
Oh, but it just sounds similar.
yes, it does, but no, it doesn't. We don't say that.
Is it a cliche?
Yeah, a lot of clichés are true though. I mean, they come from somewhere.
Question is where?
Well, yeah, exactly. Sometimes cliché come from one person's done it, and then you say, oh, you've got dark hair, you are going to bite your nail. Oh, everybody with dark hair bite their nail. That could come from that, or that could come from the fact that somebody went to the country, realized a lot of people were doing that, and then it becomes, a cliché, as in a lot of people do it. Not everybody does it. So getting back to food. Yum, yum, yum. Actually, there's pictures of food later. So where were we? We were at aperitif, drink, eating, 3-course meal. I have no idea where I was going with that.
Talk about the flag if you want.
Talk about the flag, yeah. So blue, white, and red. I should know what it means, but I forgot. Royalty and something else. Shit, that was bad. Thanks for putting me on the spot. We got that when we went. You guys actually hear thanks to us. Now, I think I need to take a moment to highlight that.
Go for it. Go ahead.
I was only just thinking.
Okay, so in 1789, the French population just really got sick of the conditions they were living in, with the king and the queens and all the royals just getting as much as they could, and the countrymen or the peasants were just left with nothing and always having to work harder and harder and harder to feed the king and the queens without them getting anything for their own family. And so we went on a little rampage and have a revolution, French Revolution, 1789. We just chopped everybody's heads, as you do. I think.
Off with your hand.
Off with your head, exactly, a little bit like that, and off they went. The head rolled, definitely. And in England, they actually got really scared of what was happening in France, and they had a lot of people in the prisons, and they were really starting to get worried about the reaction that the people in England, how were they going to react to seeing that the French, got up and fought for themselves. So all the people that were in prisons, they sent them to Australia. Ta-da! You're welcome. That's it.
I'm Jay.
Oh, come on, Australia is fantastic. Look, I live here now, you know, so.
How did they come over? On the Lavion?
Oh, see, nice.
You too.
Ah, I should have chocolate, you know. Do people know? Do people know what you said?
No. What do you say on the song?
Aeroplane.
Since you let us come over here, can I just say merci?
Oui.
Oh, merci, c'est beaucoup.
Oh, oui, de rien. You're welcome. She just said thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Or you can say merci, s'il vous plaît.
That means thank you, please. Depends.
Please. I like that. Same, and my sister kept saying merci, s'il vous plaît. I'm like, Darren, you can't even say chocolate properly. It's like chocolate.
Chocolat. I can't say chocolate.
Yeah, but some people say chocolate.
You say what?
Fire extinguisher.
In French?
No, in Australia.
Fire extinguisher? It's not the worst word that I say.
I'm gonna say chocolate.
Hamburger.
Hamburger. Hamburger.
Sorry, we're taking it out of you. Come on, Natalie, you'll be right. Come on, plow it on.
No, it's not the word. Usually I get laughed at when I talk about develop, which is, I think you guys say develop.
Oh.
You didn't even know what I was saying. It's develop. Develop, because that's how we, because you know that's actually a French word. Je développe. It's a French word. So when it's a French word, I just pronounce it like I would normally in French. And sometimes it works, often it doesn't. All right, so we've talked about food, we've talked about the French Revolution. Here we go. Look, what's missing? Who can tell me? You know?
The focus is missing.
Yeah? The rest of the world, yeah?
France.
The island's down in the water.
What is it called? Do you know?
I don't remember what it's called.
Anybody knows?
That's from parts of the Caribbean.
In French, we call it Corse. Corse. In French, it's Corse. In English, it's Corsica. It's our own little Tasmania. But they have 3 heads instead of 2. And for some reason, it's just like Tasmania. Everybody keeps forgetting them on the map. It's actually really funny. But it doesn't matter because they want the independence. So here you go. They can have the independence. That was independence. So independence.
Oh, yeah, no, I got it.
Paris is in Ile-de-France, which is the island of France. And I was saying to Beck before, it's really interesting, France. It's funny because coming here, it really made me think about it in a different way. Actually, I had to ask people, what should I talk about when I talk about France? Because for me, it's my country. It's everything makes sense. Everything is obvious. Like, I don't know what to talk about. But I realized that so all these are different regions, obviously, from of the country, and they all have their own cultural. It's really strong culturally in each of these little places. Whether it's even in some dialect, we all speak French, but some, especially here and in the north, the very old people still have some certain dialect. My grandparents, who are from Loire. This is a bit weird. I'm got trouble following this, but yeah, they're from around there. They have some words sometimes that they talk. We call it patois. Dialect, we call it patois, and they have that in terms of food also. Foie gras is come from there, but somewhere about here, around Toulouse. The north is really acquainted with Belgium, so they're really strong on. They have a strong culture of mussels and chips and beer. So everywhere you go, it's a different, almost different also costumes, you know, traditional things. And I think because they used to be separated a very long time ago, and all have their own little leaders and things like that. And the culture of that, the tradition of that, have actually remained all through history and still now. So that's really, really interesting. And you know what we make here?
Champagne.
Yeah. It's actually called champagne.
Champagne.
My turn. My turn. Champagne. Stop with your champagne. Yeah, that's good. You got it. Champagne. And you know what we make here?
Peach Lorraine.
Wait, who said that?
Oh,
Nice.
MJ!
Excellent. And of course, then you've got all the wines from all the
What
region.
about the limousine one? Do you make limousines?
Limousines?
The LIM.
The limousine?
Yeah.
Yeah, we invented the limousine. Actually,
No one's arguing. Sounds French.
limousine. We actually have a tan called condom. We do condom. A tan called condom. Somewhere there.
So they're a very small country or a very large one.
Well, actually, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard they actually have a museum. I think they thought, well, since that's her name, which doesn't mean anything in French, by the way, but they probably went along and played with it, saying, well, if that's her name, if people are going to make, oh, you've got the name of a condom. Let's have a museum of condoms. So I've heard they have a museum of condoms. Don't really know how many condoms you can display there. Anyway, so yeah, well, I don't know if that's a good segue, but that's the thing that's pointing. I'm not pointing. Do you guys know what this is? It's actually called La Tour Eiffel, but that's okay, you didn't know that. So the Eiffel Tower,
And it has an elevator.
pardon?
An elevator.
It has, I think it's got three.
It's
One
got
in
three
each,
elevators.
yeah, one in each legs. You can
My
also,
mum and my sister.
yeah, and you can also walk the stairs all the way up, or you can take the elevators. We took the elevators and went down the stairs. You can have fun. This was built in for the Exposition Universelle, for the Universal Exhibition in, I believe, 1900. And it was actually not meant to stay. It was just something meant to be built for the occasion and then put down. And then they thought, well, we like it, we'll keep it. Something on this line. Quote.
That's a pretty cool thing to keep.
Charles de Gaulle. No, that was not it. It was yeah, I think it's conspicuous. That's nice. Actually, just go back to the Eiffel Tower for a second. So the person who designed the Eiffel Tower is Gustave Eiffel, hence the name, and he also participated in creating. So I think Bartoli designed the Statue of Liberty, and Eiffel was part of also on the project of the Statue of Liberty. Next. Ouais! L'Arc de Triomphe. Excellent. There's a massive roundabout around it, and that's the only place, the only landmark in the entire France where if you have an accident, the insurance company don't care whose fault it was, it's 50-50. It is that crazy. I've actually taken that roundabout half on there with two wheels on the thing, because you just gotta make your way through it, you know. It's crazy. It's like if you go to Asia and you see how they're all on their bikes and they're going like that without hitting each other, it's pretty much what's happening here. It's a massive roundabout with, you have maybe seven?
It's 7 lanes.
7, as in coming in?
No, I know there's 7 lanes going around.
7 lanes going around, and there's, I don't know, maybe 8 huge boulevard coming inside. Actually, talking about boulevard, you know, here you guys got street and courts and avenues, and from what I've heard, it doesn't really mean anything. Like it's, just a street. Whereas in France, it's got a meaning. If it's a street, it's a certain size. If it's an avenue, it's a little bit bigger. If it's a boulevard, it's massive. That's why les Champs-Élysées, you guys heard of the Champs-Élysées, which is either finishing or starting at the Arc de Triomphe, depending which way you look at it, it's the boulevard des Champs-Élysées, because it's really, really big. So the whether it's a street, a court, a lane means it's really, really narrow. An avenue or boulevard, it's it means something. The Arc de Triomphe also has the, what do you call it? La tombe du soldat inconnu. Okay. Is all of it. Is the okay? So tombe is the tomb. Yeah. Soldat is the soldier, and inconnu is unknown. So it's the unknown soldier tomb, which is a memorial to all the soldiers fallen during First World War and Second World War. And when we have, so the 11th of November is actually a public holiday in France. It's the armistice when we signed the end of the war, and they go and they also do that on the 8th of May. So 11th of November is the end of the First World War, and 8th of May is the end of the Second World War. They go there and they light up the flame, and they pay respect to the people who have fallen during the war. And what else? What else? Do you guys want to know about the Champs-Élysées?
What is that?
Les Champs-Élysées.
Is that a picture?
Champs-Élysées.
I like how you adjusted that just for me.
Did that work? No? Okay, it's a massive boulevard that goes from there all the way to La Concorde, so all of that is in Paris. And
Is that like the equivalent of Route 66 in America?
No.
no,
No, isn't it where they have a lot of the designer companies?
yes,
and things like that?
so they will have Vuitton.
It's like a shopping street.
Yeah, it's massive. It's a very famous cafe. To live here is really
Have you
expensive.
been there, MJ?
Yes. There's a McDonald's like three blocks down.
Excuse me. What about the Häagen-Dazs? It's okay, they're not French. It's my favorite ice cream.
Oh, yeah, the ice cream shop.
Yeah.
It's winter in France right now, isn't it?
It's what? Winter? What are we? November? Yeah.
It would be actually technically autumn, but it's winter. You can have a white Christmas.
Yeah. Well, that's what I used to have up until 10 years ago. Absolutely. And that is still actually strange for me to come here and say, well, it's Christmas, and I'm, in a dress, and I'm really hot, and whatever
There's no snow.
Yeah, and there's no snow. It took me a very long time to adapt to that, and I think that's maybe one of the things that I miss from France.
Yeah,
I
a lot of
miss-
people say, what's a white Christmas? And I'm like, well, over the other side of the world, it's winter.
Yeah, it snows.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense, because I don't know if you've seen what Santa's wearing, but I think it's a little bit hot weather for his big, I think you guys got it wrong, but it's okay. Yeah.
I'm having a French exchange student actually, and she actually hates
I hope she's not coming here in winter, and you're not going to take her to Mont Blanc.
It's
No,
another
she's going to love it. Bula.
Full of ice cream.
Bula? Mont Blanc?
That's right, now Bula.
Falls Creek.
Natalie, that was perfect. Don't worry
That
about
was
it.
fine.
You're going to speak English.
I don't even French.
My mum has a French name,
What's your mom's name?
Michelle.
Michelle.
French name too.
Who said that? Mom is my name French. Laetitia? Depends how you pronounce it again. Laetitia, yeah, that's really
My mum went to France and she got the
Playing what?
it's like this little music box and it plays the song Michelle.
Michelle Mabel.
Yeah, because there's a song called Michelle, My Belle, and there's a song over here called Emily and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
but that's actually an English song from the Beatles, if we're talking about the same one.
Yeah, but my mum's got Michelle, My Belle. It plays and it's got like the Eiffel Tower on it and it's like really cool.
Did she got it before or after she had you?
She got it from after she
After
had-
you were born?
Yeah, because she went to France now 2 or 3 years ago, and she's very good at speaking French because my sister can't speak it. And yeah, she got all these little gadgets and gizmos. She brought back my hotel.
She brought back the Eiffel Tower.
I like it. I keep it.
What's your last name? What? Deveau? With V-A-U-T? V-A-U-S. D-E-V-A-U-S. Yeah, that is French. That is French. See? Told you. You're welcome. It's okay. Talking about Michelle, and actually that's making me think of pronunciation. It was really funny. In July I went home. My partner is from the country, Australia country. And we went home and I said to him, and I said to him the name of the people that were coming, but I said them to him in English. Okay? So for example, Laetitia, I would not say Laetitia, I would say Letitia. Is that how you say it in English? So I would say that to him instead of Laetitia is coming. And so I said to him, Michelle and Martin are coming. And he's like, yeah, cool, all right. And actually, Martin was the woman and Michelle was the guy.
So guys can be called Michelle, it just doesn't have like an E or another L.
and we pronounce it the same way. And I had the same trouble with Daniel because for me every Daniel is Daniel. Whether they're Daniel or Danielle, we say Daniel in French. And so I said to him, Michelle and Martin are coming. And Martin is actually Martin with an E at the end. Martin. If it's a Martin, then that's a guy. But you guys pronounce it Martin. Oh, that was so confusing. Very, very confusing. What else did we have after that? We got somebody excited there. Yes, it is a croissant. I've never made that.
I've actually had one before.
You had what?
I've had one.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
They're not all good. You can have some that are really dry. You know where they're really good? All right. Tip from the French. The very, very nice croissant I've had at Safeway. In the mini croissant that comes in the big plastic box.
Yeah, I think I got one from
Safeway to get like ham and cheese.
Yeah. It's not actually, in France, we're very sweet. So croissant, I guess maybe now it's, might be a bit more usual to have ham and cheese, but croissant is butter and jam. Croissant is a sweet thing that we have. So we really eat sweet for breakfast. So we'll have cereals, we'll have pieces of bread with Nutella or jam, coffee. So we.
No, it's Australian.
I'm not gonna answer. It comes from the squirrels. Anyway. I mean, you go invented Nutella. I like that. It's a good mix. So for breakfast, we love our coffee. We don't have a cup of coffee. We actually have a bowl. My mom still drinks a whole bowl.
A bowl of coffee?
Yeah. No, I actually don't drink coffee. I'm half French, half Italian, half Australian. I live in Melbourne, and I don't drink coffee. In the wrong place, maybe. I like my tea. I drink tea. I like tea. And so we don't, the whole bacon, eggs, and tomato and everything in the morning. It's not in France. Probably now if you go in a restaurant and people will serve everything, but not in a traditional French home. Morning will be bread, butter, and jam, and croissant. Although croissant, it's a bit of a treat. It's the thing because you want them fresh, so you have to get up in the morning early, go to the bakery. So sometimes you actually do that as a romantic gesture for your partner. You sneak out of bed and silently go and get some fresh croissant from the bakery, and then you bring it back and serve them to in bed. I don't know why I moved here. Really, that was. Next one. Eclair. Do you guys, you're from Lilydale?
Is that an eclair? Is that a chocolate eclair?
You're from where?
Yes, it is. Chocolate eclair.
From all over. Okay, so I'm from Bayside, and in
Bayside, there's a place called Hampton, and they have these. If you're ever there, you have to go to this place called Gâteau. It's on Hampton Street, and they have and they're actually at the other end of this Hampton Street. You've got Eclair. So you've got Gâteau and you've got Eclair, and I think you need to taste both just to know, just to compare. But it's really good, and the best is what you guys call vanilla slice.
Yeah.
That we call millefeuille, which means 1,000 leaves, 1,000 leaves, because it's what do you call that pastry?
Filo.
It's not really filo.
Puff pastry.
Yeah, that's more like puff pastry. The squirrel is onto it. I like that. And it's really delicious. It's not, it's not block type of thing that you have in the worst thing. Really, the tip from the French. The one thing to avoid if it's written Australian French bakery, then it's none of it. It's not from anywhere. It can't be Australian French. And I'm not saying that as in can't be Australian French, but really any time. And there's a lot of them in St Kilda. It's Austrian French bakery. There's nothing French about them. So yes, Eclair. All right, macaron. Actually, they're not macaroons. They are macarons, because macaroons, the coconut thing it's egg white and coconut. So these are macarons. These, that these are not very hard to make. Yeah, you what? You've made them? Yeah, and it's not really this is what I think, tell me if you agree. It's not very complicated, but you need to be very precise.
Yes. Yeah. I make them.
You made them too. Yeah, and
I make them at home at least once a week.
Are you sure they I'm happy to come and taste and tell you if they
I'm very exact and precise with my measuring. I thought Hillside, I was the only one that could make the bourbon sauce because I was very exact and precise.
Bourbon sauce?
Yes.
I've tried it. Sounds nice.
It is good. If you ever go to Club Hillside from Hillside, get something with bourbon sauce. It tastes absolutely.
Is that a sweet or a savory? Like something you eat in dessert or with a meat?
It's like drizzled over meat.
Meat?
In a mayo. It's very good.
But that's it. That's the secret of making macarons. Macaron shell is icing sugar and almond milk, and then the middle you just make whatever you want in it. What do you want to say? Oh, but did they taste good? Sometimes it doesn't look good, but really? You need to give a couple of lessons.
Well, my dad's a chef, but I actually taught him how to make them.
Really?
Yes, I taught my dad how to make them. He was a chef for over 5 years. Yeah, I taught him.
And now you can make them?
Yes.
So you can teach her. If you taught your dad, then you can teach her.
I've taught my mom, I've taught my brother, my sister.
You go.
Hey, come right to my house and we'll teach you.
We all going to our house! Yay!
You see my puppy if you come.
Dad was just in Paris recently.
Your dad?
Yeah. He went on his holiday with his wife, and he was in the central Paris area, and he said the public transport was absolutely bad, because everyone's like walking everywhere, the trains were like packed everywhere, and then he said the snails were absolutely so much better with salt.
With salt?
With salt.
As in with no sauce, just salt.
Yeah.
And what?
Frog legs.
Oh yeah.
My stepmom's Jamaican.
In what?
My stepmom's Jamaican, so she's actually never been to Paris.
Okay.
So he took her to Paris, and yeah.
So they had a bit of culinary experience.
And the bad part is, he was actually 20 kilometers away from the terrorist attack.
When it happened just then?
No, he left a couple months beforehand.
Oh, okay.
But he was like 20
So he knew
meters.
what they were
where it
If he
happened.
stayed there about a month more, he would actually be in the middle of the
Oh
terrace
wow.
town.
Yeah, then that becomes really close to home, doesn't it? When you can relate with where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
he wants to
true.
go back there. He said it's absolutely a beautiful country.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's nice. I hear really different. Like some people will say, "Oh my God, the French people are horrible," and other people are going to say, "Oh my God, the French people were so nice." I think it's more about reflection of the people giving you the comment, really.
Can I ask a question?
No. Yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. Did you grow up in, like, that was where you grew up in France?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up as a young person in France?
I'm thinking about what is going to be relevant other than I get up and go to school.
Did
So
you have a
it's good.
religion?
No,
Yes,
I didn't.
religion.
I didn't really go to church or anything like that.
No, like, did you follow a religion? Did you just on your own? Did you believe in anything?
No, I don't think so. I think it took me a while to figure out what I was believing in. Yeah. I think it's probably dominant Christian in France, the religion. And so growing up, I'm thinking back, because I also don't know what it is to go to school here. So I don't know what I need to, what's different or what's similar. So, all right. So a typical school works is, when you're in the smaller school, you would go to school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you'd have the Wednesday off. So what I'd do is that I'd go in a centre aéré, which really, literally translates as in an aerated center. So a center with a lot of air in it. Maybe it's good for the kids. And I loved it. I really loved it because I did a lot of activities. We were on skateboards, playing like hockey, not skateboards. No, not ice. Yeah, roller skates, playing hockey. I did a little show of classical dance, like